So, real quick, I didn't say this on the front end. We'll make sure everyone has these slides after the meeting, so you don't have to try to interpret this eye chart. So, questions. So, one of the things we did when we sent out the invite was to solicit questions from you, so we could be better prepared and make sure we're answering all your questions. As we go forward, we've got Jim mentioned the project page on our website. We're going to keep a list of FAQs, and we're going to update that as we get the questions in. So we do have a few questions that were asked on the front end that we'd like to answer. As you might imagine, a few of them were about financial issues. And so our Chief Financial Officer, Amy Buss, has agreed to answer some of the first questions here. So.
Thank you. Okay, one of the first questions we received is how does the Finance Department how does it relate to this initiative? Well, everything that we've been talking about up to this point costs money. So the Finance Department on my side, the pull team, is going to work with the Finance Department on your side, the push team, to gather the expenses that it currently costs and to run your infrastructure, to run your software, to run different projects that will be then coming to our shared services. Part of this is a cost savings for the state overall. So being able to identify all the expenses it truly costs, everything that really takes to run your infrastructure, it allows us to be sure we share those cost savings. What push-pull goals related to fiscal is to identify the expenses. What does it cost you to run your infrastructure? What is it going to cost you to run your infrastructure on our services? We need to optimize that as much as possible. Will agencies receive cost estimates for budgeting? Yes. We will work with each of the fiscal areas. We will work on a cost estimate for you to work with your budget analyst. We've already done some preliminary conversations with the Office of Budget. They know this is coming, obviously. And we will work with your team to be sure that you have the appropriate appropriation to pay DIS for your shared services. Will you need to provide funding information? As far as specifics, you get your funds from this specific grant or from this specific revenue source, that's more of a question for you and your team. We will work with you, again, to be sure appropriation is available. Jim had mentioned the timeline. If an agency just cannot get appropriation, we will take that in consideration on the timeline. Again, Office of Budget is very aware that this project and this initiative is going forward, and that has been discussed with them as well as far as timing. IT procurements for state or agency level. This is a shared services initiative, so anything that would be in the shared services realm will be procured through DIS. If your agency, every agency is unique and different, does have some type of service that needs to remain within that agency specific, but it comes over to our data center, those procurements will be done through your agency. Whoops, I was going to get that backwards. There we go. Approval processes for the IT purchases, they will remain the same as they are now. Again, if your purchase is part of the DIS shared services, DIS will do the procurement and obtain those approvals. If it is determined that it is a specific IT request for your agency will do the procurement approvals and run through the same process as we do now. There's no change with that. Reporting requirements related to budget. At this time, there have not been any specific reporting requirements identified. Other than when we start working with your team specifically, we will start with the IT plan. That will be our starting point for all fiscal information, and then we'll move forward from there. As far as assets, if the asset is part of the shared service, it'll be DIS's asset and DIS's responsibility to do inventory and any reporting associated with that. Billing at this time will occur at DIS's rates. Obviously, with shared services, the more people that we have participating, the lower our rates go. The rates are being reviewed on a quarterly basis, and we will do ad hoc adjustments as needed. We are not going to wait 3 or 4 years to do rate adjustments like we've done in the past, so I can assure you that rates will be reviewed and adjusted appropriately as soon as possible. And level contracts, agency level contracts, I go back to if it's a DIS shared service, the contract will be through DIS. If your agency is required to have an IT contract specific for your agency, that's going to be housed in the data center. you would have the contract through your agency. Any other, are you going to wait till the end?